Hey ladies, this video is gonna have a little bit of length to it. I'm gonna talk in detail a little bit and tell you where I am in terms of my journey at this point. So when I started this journey in 2014, I think I was 31 at the time, about 6 months prior to my 32nd birthday. I decided to go to the doctor to determine if everything was working correctly because I was just starting to think about becoming a mother. So I had a history of PCOS, but PCOS is not a specific infertility diagnosis. It can lead to difficulty conceiving, but there are plenty of people who have been able to conceive with PCOS. So I went to the doctor. At that point, my labs were such that my FSH was normal, my estradiol was normal, and I had a very low AMH, which AMH correlates to your ovarian reserve. So it was determined at that time that my ovarian reserve was diminished, but I should be able to conceive naturally or with some ovulation induction because my FSH was still normal. That was the physician who I was seeing. That was her opinion at the time. However, at that time, she would not prescribe Clomid to me due to me being overweight. So that was in January of 2014. So my insurance was only going to be covered. Any services I got had to be at the hospital that I worked for because we are self-insured. So in 2015, about May, I started to pay for a reproductive endocrinologist, which he repeated some of the labs, which still showed that my AMH was very low. My FSH and estradiol, my estradiol was normal, my FSH was creeping up, and my tubes were patent. There were no problems with my canal, and yeah, so all the additional testing that was done, SIS, HSG, all of those things were normal. So at that point, I did 4 IUIs, 3 with Clomid, 1 with letrozole. Those failed. So in 2016, we realized that my husband's insurance covered IVF, so we started treatment, and there was a delay in treatment because the hospital lost my labs, and then I started taking birth control. I developed some rather large ovarian cysts in May. We went through June, July, August. So we had a failed IVF cycle. Then I had 1 successful egg retrieval with improper fertilization. And since that time, pardon me for that, but since that time, I have not had any success in terms of being able to ovulate. I've had to take Provera to start my cycle. We attempted another IVF cycle last month, which I had a very poor response, which was converted to an IUI, which was not successful. And then my physician wanted to try to do a lower dose of gonadotropins and see if I can ovulate just get 1 or 2 follicles. So as of today, I had a very rough day today because as of today, those follicles are no longer maturing properly. So my physician wants to do a consultation with me, and typically those consultations, they go in and they talk about what your options are. We can try IVF, which we don't think will be successful because we can't really stimulate your ovaries. Plan B, we have this magic bullet of donor or gamete eggs we can get for you at the low price of $22,000. But so I am in a position today where I feel absolutely defeated. So the whole idea of reproduction for me has been an arduous task. And I feel like for my own sanity, I need to remove myself from this process. I've had 50 million procedures, injected myself with all kinds of stuff, Lupron, Gonalef, Menopur, HCG. I've taken pills, vaginal suppositories of progesterone. And I'm wondering, how long do you do this? And this is not a question of, do I have enough faith to go the distance? Do I believe God? Yes, I believe God with my whole heart. I'm talking about the God that parted the Red Sea, the God that sent his son to die for us. So do I believe him? Do I believe God can do all things? Yes. I also have this belief that sometimes the thing that we desire the most may not be according to God's will. So do I continue to manipulate my body, take injections, miss time off of work? My life for the past 2 years has been consumed with fertility, reproduction. Some people get on this journey, maybe they have secondary infertility, meaning they got their tubes tied and they're able to ovulate appropriately. They use the medications. They have a successful IVF the first time around. That's a wonderful thing. And just because someone is blessed to get pregnant faster does not minimize the pain of their journey. So I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is to continue to manipulate my body like this without any foreseeable positive outcome, I just don't know if I'm willing to continue to do this. So my doctor wants to meet with me on Monday. And here's another thing. So the whole concept about donor eggs, and for women and men, couples who decide that that's the option they want to take, I can't knock them at all. But it's not a personal decision I'm ready to make. Maybe somewhere down the road I would change my mind, but that's not where I am right now. And I've let you ladies know that my mother passed away, my father passed away, my brother was murdered. And so that's my whole family unit, right? 4 of us, 3 gone, I'm left. So being able to produce on my own and leave a legacy and pass on my DNA is very important to me for obvious reasons. So I just don't know. And this video is going to be all over the place. So just come along for the ride, sisters. But I just don't know if that's a decision that I'm able and willing to make at this time. So infertility can do many things to you. It can be destructive to a marriage. It can destroy your faith in God. It can just give you a totally negative outlook on life. And I will admit, because I'm all about positivity, I know what God can do. I know what can happen in your life if you work hard enough, if you desire something hard enough, if you go after it hard enough. But there is nothing that I can do to force myself to ovulate. I've swallowed so much CoQ10, DHEA, spent thousands of dollars on all kinds of stuff, acupuncture, IUI, all this medication. There is absolutely nothing else I can do. Like, I'm at my wit's end. I don't know how to fix this. So I've sought out the best physicians. I really don't know what to do. And I think sometimes you have to come to a place in your journey where you can respectfully and positively say enough is enough and not be bitter, not be angry. Does it hurt me that my body refuses to do what it's designed to do? Absolutely. But there's nothing I can do to change my ovarian function. I've employed all the strategies I've ever heard. Trust me, every single thing I've ever heard. I've looked at the infertility and sterility literature. I've looked at all kinds of studies. I've done everything I could possibly do. I just don't know what else to do in this situation. And I feel like it's taken over my life and crowded out my mind, like to the point where I just have to take a step back, realize that this may not be something that happens for me. And what do I do? How do I build from here? Is that adoption? Is that being a foster parent? Is that continuing the work I do in Africa? as a missionary, doing medical missions. How do I resolve this area of my life? I have been praying for 2 years that if it's not God's will, that he takes this away from me, and it just doesn't seem to want to go anywhere. And is that a matter of me not giving that desire over to him? This is a quandary. It really is. How do you overcome wanting to be a mother and coming to terms with the fact that this is something that may not necessarily happen for me? I've seen it happen for other people. I've seen people go through the journey. I just don't know if I have the stamina or endurance anymore. So my doctor was saying, well, they're working out their poor responders protocol, which many of you all call mini IVF. And I just don't, I hate to admit this openly, but I just don't have any more hope. Like, I don't have anything left to give to this process anymore. My money, my time. Like, before I started this process, I had finished my doctorate. I had these big plans. I was going to possibly get a second doctorate or do some postdoctoral fellowship in epidemiology. I was trying to transition to working at the CDC. I wanted to take some additional courses in biostatistics. Like, I had a lot of plans, and so I did complete my doctorate and implemented a hypertension study. I've worked on hypertension studies for the National Institute of Health. I mean, I was really on a path to doing something, and it seemed like this just came in. It was my biggest desire, and it choked out the energy that I had to do anything else. So I'm going to summarize all of this up by saying I really just don't know what else to do. So in so many instances in my life, like I told you ladies, I've overcome poverty, sleeping on the train in Chicago. I raised myself and my older brother. I did my homework and his homework while our mother was mostly incarcerated. I made sure the two of us would survive being alone as children. So I've always been able to overcome things. And this is one of those things where I cannot do anything to change my situation. I've prayed about it, cried about it, sought the Lord. And I'm just coming to terms with maybe this is something that will not happen. And I need to be okay with it. I need to be able to move on and conduct myself in a way where I'm not bitter, where I know God still loves me, and that he has to have a bigger plan. I have to remember to keep my mind off of my problem of infertility and realize that I still do have purpose. So if there's anything that this journey has done, is it's made me, it's a humbling experience to know that with your best efforts, you can't help yourself. Like, there's nothing I can do to stimulate my ovarian function, because I've tried everything. I've had some of the best doctors, really good reviews, really good success rates. And currently, I'm not one of those success stories. And I don't envy anybody who is successful, because when I started this journey, especially with being on YouTube, I felt like I was joining a sisterhood. So I'm happy for everybody else. I don't understand my lot, but that doesn't minimize the fact that I am happy to see other people get their blessing, because like I said, no matter if your struggle is 6 weeks or 6 years, it's still your struggle. It's still significant and it's still important. So that's my story. I really feel like I'm going to go meet with the doctor on Monday for kicks and giggles, essentially, because I don't feel like, I feel like he's scratching his head too. Like, what the heck? I mean, So today when I saw him, he was saying things like, so I don't want to give you false hope. Do you want to stop your medication? Maybe we can keep going to Monday. Bruh, those follicles aren't like, so he's like, I guess he's waiting for a miracle or something. So on the 5th day of stems, my estrogen was really low and my follicles were at a 6 and a 7. That was Tuesday. Today I go back, the same 2 follicles on the left ovary are at a 8 and a 9. In the 11th day of the cycle, yeah, there ain't nothing happening there. So yeah, so he wants me to take this medicine for 3 more days, but I'm not doing that. I mean, I'm a person who deals with reality, and I don't see any reason to poke myself with a needle for these baby follicles. Like, they're not doing anything. I mean, I think he just didn't want to feel like he was giving up. That's the sentiment I got from him, but I don't know. So I'm going to save this right here. This is money. I'm not paying for it, but it's somebody's money. So I'm going to remove myself, discontinue, which I tell my patients all the time, do not discontinue their prescriptions without notifying their primary care provider yet. I'm going to take myself off of this medication today because, I mean, there's just no response from my ovaries in this cycle. So I know I have been speaking a long time, and some of it is not making a whole lot of sense. So I'm going to discontinue this video. And some of my delirium actually right now is from the fact that the president-elect of the United States is Donald Trump. So if there are any Trump supporters watching, I'm not seeking